Attention passengers, today on Strangers on a Podcast, we travel back in time to 1990 for a Prohibition-era gangster movie. It contains gunfights, multiple love triangles, and handsome men in hats. Join us, won't you?
Hello, and welcome to the Movie Car here at Strangers on a Podcast. I'm the conductor. With me is...
I'm Grimweed.
Hello, Grimweed.
Hello.
We're called Strangers on a Podcast because we're two guys who don't know each other. We're talking about movies to see how they bring people together. Are we going to drive each other nuts? Are we going to curse and scream one another out? Are we going to stay on topic?
Nope.
Probably not.
Hey, as soon as it happens, we'll probably both have a heart attack because we'll be so shocked.
Probably.
So that'll probably be our last show.
Well, okay, now I don't want to stay on topic as much.
Everybody else is like, oh, please let him stay on topic.
And today we are talking about the one, the only, Miller's Crossing.
Ooh, we're back with the Coens.
What's the rumpus, buddy?
How many times I say that? There's another count.
Yeah, they say that a lot. Miller's Crossing came out in 1990. It was written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, with a little help from the works of Dashiell Hammett. Music was by Carter Burwell, who's done all the Coen movies except for Inside Llewyn Davis. It was shot by Barry Sonnenfeld, who would go on to be quite the director in his own right, with hits such as The Men in Black.
The
third movie he
and
did
the
with
last
the Coens.
he did with the Coens.
Yes, he did Blood Simple, he did Raising Arizona, and this one.
Yep.
And then he went on to be a director in his own right, with hits such as the Men in Black films and the Addams Family movies.
That's after he did a bunch of porn and stuff too, but that's another story.
I think he did the porn before he met the Coens, actually.
Which means him becoming a major director in his own right would be after he did. Pay attention.
Okay.
You built the timeline here.
Well, I thought we could skip over the porn for Mr. Sonnenfeld's good name, but okay.
He openly admits it. He's yeah, I did this, I did that. And yeah, so why skip over it? If he's willing to openly admit it, why skip the porn?
Because it's dirty, dirty porn. Dirty porn.
Okay, well, get some soap for when you're done.
It stars Gabriel Byrne, Albert Finney, John Turturro, Marcia Gay Harden in her big screen debut, John Polito.
John Turturro's first movie with the Coens too.
J.E. Freeman as the Dane.
Actually, it was Polito, Turturro, and Steve Buscemi's. All three of them. This was their first movie with the Coens.
It also has a ton of character actors like Steve Buscemi in his first Coen Brothers movie, Michael Jeter in a small part as Adolf, and a cameo by none other than the Coens' friend and fellow director Sam fucking Raimi is in it.
And you could tell in a couple shots, he had some influence on this movie too. There's a couple shots that was like, okay, that is a Raimi shot.
Yes, it was. Here and there. Sam Raimi and the Coens were friends way back before any of them were big.
Yeah, they often refer to Raimi as kind of a mentor.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that. Well, yeah.
Well, I don't know if they themselves, but they, as far as critics and a lot of big name movie people, refer to Raimi as a Coen mentor.
I don't know if the Coen brothers really went as hardcore, let's make a movie for ourselves, kind of the way Raimi did with Evil Dead. I don't think they got into the drive-in circuit the way Evil Dead did or anything like that. I think Raimi was more of a guerrilla filmmaker than they were.
Yeah, well, they made movies based on what they wanted to make, though. Like the last time, the Big Lebowski, they wanted to make a movie very specific for like the crime and all that, and everything just being unimportant. This one, Barry Sonnenfeld says, okay, well, what do we want to make? And they told him a handsome movie about men in hats. And that's what they made.
Also about gangsters in forests.
Well, yeah, that too. But, I mean, it is a handsome movie about men in hats.
It is indeed, which is kind of a funny parallel because Sonnenfeld went on to direct Men in Black after making Men in Hats. It rhymes. Yeah, okay, it's not that much of a connection, but all right, give me a break.
Well, I'm just hoping when I connect all these movies together, I can go a little tighter than that one.
Yeah, I assume you will.
I'm hoping, because that was a loose connection there.
It was a very, well, it It was more
At
of a
least if
pun
it comes
than
down
anything else.
to nothing else, I can say the Coens are my connection between Lebowski and Miller's Crossing.
There you go.
I can take the cheap way out and do that connection if it comes down to it.
If you have to, you have to. And the movie is steeped in period dialogue, and one of the things they say a lot is, "What's the rumpus?" As in, what's the problem? What's going on? It's the way they greet each other and ask what the situation is. So, but Miller's Crossing, what's the rumpus with Miller's Crossing? Well, it tells the story of Gabriel Byrne's Tom Regan as he
Who
navigates
is basically an Irish version of Tom Hagen from The Godfather.
from The Godfather. Yes. Well, Tom Hagen in The Godfather was Irish.
Well, this is a little bit more Irish.
Well, it's
Well, one, he's still got an accent. Two, he's working for Irish mob.
tells the story of Gabriel Byrne's Tom Regan as he navigates shifting loyalties and multiple double crosses, trying to fend for himself amid a rising gang war between his boss Leo and Irish
Who also
mob
happens
boss.
to be a cross-dresser.
That's not canon part of the film.
Oh, excuse me? He was dressed as a woman in the women's restroom.
After being upstairs,
Well,
that was a.
you
that
could
was
say anything. After being upstairs, it's not like he went upstairs and never came down.
Did he? All right. So you're. All right. We'll get to that.
I'm guessing you were hoping I wouldn't throw that out there.
No, what you're saying.
Or
that,
you knew
that
at
makes,
some point I was going to throw that at you.
That makes no sense, though. All right. We'll get to it. Rising gang war between his boss Leo, an Irish mob boss, and the Italian Johnny Casper, who feels that Leo has given him the high hat one too many times.
Who
Not
played
helping matters.
by
John Polito,
who was also the same age as
Gabriel Byrne.
yes.
Yes, they were the same
Yes,
age in the
but
film.
Polito often referred to him as Kid, and they were played as Polito being a much older character. And Polito says that he believes that him playing this older character in this movie is what actually helped his career, because before this, he was trying to play his age and he wasn't getting much work. Then once he started playing older, everybody's like, oh, he's great as that older character. And then all of a sudden, he was getting work like mad playing an older character than what he actually is.
Many genre fans out there will remember John Polito as Gideon, the pawn shop owner in The Crow,
Or the brother Seamus.
or Brother Seamus in Big Lebowski.
Yep.
Not helping matters for Tom Regan is the fact that Tom is sleeping with Leo's girl Verna, and her brother Bernie is at the center of the violence.
Okay, I just realized. Did you refer to him as Brother Seamus or as the Brother Seamus or a Brother Seamus?
I don't recall, but I know
Because I know I just
that
said
in the movie.
as the Brother Seamus.
Yeah, what are you, an Irish monk?
Yeah, I'm just making sure that if I do actually leave this in, people aren't thinking that we believe his name was Brother Seamus.
No, it was DeFino.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway, Lebowski was last week.
Well, yeah, but we just mentioned that. And again, I didn't want people to think that that we thought his name was Brother Seamus.
The Judas Priest it doesn't want people to step on his Big Lebowski cred, is what's going on here.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but sure. After I bungled last week's episode, sure, why not?
Bungled? Oh, okay, fine. I thought you did fine. What did you think of the movie? I don't think you've ever seen it.
Yeah, I have. I hadn't seen it until I said I can connect our first movie to what could be our 10th movie. I'm just missing one in between. And you said, well, what about this? To leave me to try and figure out how in the fuck I'm going to throw this in to that list. And it's like, okay, sure. And I started watching it and was like, holy crap. This is a Coen movie that doesn't feel like a Coen movie, but is obviously a Coen movie.
You're up to the task, Grim.
And
have confidence
I started
in yourself.
seeing connections in all sorts of places. But since I'm connecting 1 to 10, I'm going to wait until I get to 10 and break down all that connection.
I'm sure you'll figure one out.
Oh, I have figured out a few.
I think you need 9 connections to go between the 10 movies.
At minimum. I might be able to make 9 connections from one to the next and on and on. You will have to wait and see, won't you?
I suppose I will. But none of them are. I don't think we featured any
yeah, that
Kevin
still doesn't
Bacon.
tell me what I think about it or tell you what I think about it, huh?
We haven't featured any Kevin Bacon movies yet. We are making all sorts of connections between the movies. So we're cinephiles just playing around right here. But yeah, what did you think of the movie? If we could ever get to that.
If we can get to the point. I thought it was a Coen movie that didn't feel like a Coen movie, but it was obviously a Coen movie. It was just, you knew what it was and you knew who was making it, but it was such a different feel than what you're used to when you think Coens. And yet it felt like it just belonged in the Coen universe at the same time. I don't know how really to describe it. It is a good movie. I am glad you recommended it because I didn't even know. I had heard the name at some point, but I didn't know anything about it, who made it, who was in it, nothing. I just know at one point in time I've heard the name.
But you said you had seen it.
No, I hadn't seen it until, because like, you haven't seen it yet. It's like, no, I have, but because of this. I hadn't seen it up until you said, well, we can do that one. It's like, okay, we can do that. So I got it and watched it, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm glad I put this in the collection.
Did you? So you bought a hard copy of it then?
I have physical media.
Of course you do. But
I got the Criterion collection version of it.
Does it come with a commentary by the Coens or anything like that?
Unfortunately, there's no commentary. I've not found Coen commentaries on much of anything.
Yeah,
there's like interviews or things, but there's not really commentaries. Like even on Big Lebowski, there's no commentaries on the Blu-ray, on the 4K. There's no commentaries. I don't know if there was on the DVD. I don't remember.
There wasn't on the DVD. I know that for sure.
But again, the Big Lebowski has about as many editions out as Evil Dead. Because there was the DVD, there was one that came in a bowling ball, there was a couple different Blu-ray covers, there was a steel case, there's the 4K, there's another one that comes with a bowling bag. There's a bunch of different versions of it. And they're probably all the same because with the 4K, the Blu-ray version you get of it is the same exact one that if you just had the Blu-ray. There's nothing different about it. And the 4K is just the 4K print with really nothing, like none of the special features. Everything, all the special features they say, oh, here it is. That's all in the Blu-ray.
Right.
There's really nothing special on the 4K side.
Well, on the 4K discs, most of the time there's no room to put any special features on a 4K disc.
Well, yeah, but usually when you get a 4K thing, you end up with more than what you had in if you just had the Blu-ray. Other than just it's got better picture, you might end up with an extra commentary or something. There's nothing extra with that. So I'm guessing with all the different versions, there's probably no commentary on any of them as far as Lebowski.
Fun fact about buying a 4K TV.
Don't drop it?
Well, don't drop it for one, but did you know that like everything, it runs like a phone and you get updates for the TV. It's basically one of these big smart TVs is like just a big phone on your wall. And you have to get updates from time to time. And sometimes they can send you an update that actually destroys the TV's ability to display 4K, as mine did.
Fun.
Yeah. Now, if I want to watch 4K, I have to go into all the brightness and adjust it all the way up, and I have to do all sorts of things.
Can't you do like a custom preset?
I've tried. It's been a nightmare.
It won't save your custom presets?
It's just been a nightmare, man. It's like I was so excited to have this 4K TV with a 4K player, and I finally have this moment where I sit down and feel like my life is a triumph because I can watch Star Wars in 4K and enjoy it, and Tatooine looks like it's overcast.
Oh, so the nightmares you have about the color are the same nightmares that Sonnenfeld had about the color from Miller's Crossing.
Indeed. Back to topic.
I just took it back to topic. Sonnenfeld had nightmares about he had nightmares about the coloring for that because when they were actually at the Miller's Crossing location, he insisted it had to be overcast. And the Coens are like, you know us. If we can be out here and shoot, we're going to shoot. We're not going to waste it. And he's like, no, it has to be overcast. And it ended up being that of the entire time they were out there shooting, there was only one day when the sun was shining and he could do a little bit of color altering. But other than like one little strip you see in the distance of sunlight, everything the entire time came out. It's all overcast.
And he also used Fuji film to
Fuji
film stock grit. To get a little more blue in the green to make the overcast to make the colors a little more softer.
Yeah, Kodak showed the green better and Fuji showed the blue better, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So Fuji is what he used when they were at Miller's Crossing, but everywhere else he was showing the green. But it also, I think he said, had more of like a grit to it or something. So it set it apart from any of the outdoor scenes in town or anywhere else.
You know what other movie came out the same year as Miller's Crossing?
Oh, a lot of movies came out the same year as Miller's Crossing.
Yeah, but this was kind of a gangster movie, even though the Coens prefer it to be called film noir. But what other famous gangster movie came out the same year as Miller's Crossing? I'll give you a hint. What am I, a clown to you? What am I, a clown?
That was the same year as Goodfellas?
Yes. Which one do you
mean,
think dominated the box office?
Well, there's a reason why one movie is known and the other isn't.
Very much so.
Oh, well, not that Miller's Crossing's not known. It's just not as well known. I mean, up against Goodfellas, whether it's the same year or not, which one would you say as far as if it's a gangster movie? I hate to say it because I do really like Miller's Crossing. I'm going for Goodfellas.
And also, I think we're talking about gangster movie versus like, I think
Miller's Crossing is something you sit and watch. Goodfellas is something you can put on.
Yeah, Miller's Crossing is more of a period film based on old-time gangster dramas, and
Even have like the language is even period. I
Yeah.
mean, it's even though the timelines don't necessarily always mesh, since there's things that are after Prohibition while the movie is taking place during Prohibition.
and I'm not going to go into the whole synopsis of the movie because really the synopsis.
After I screwed up the synopsis last time, like, we're getting away from that.
No, it's fine. You did fine. The plot is rather Byzantine, and if you want to watch it, it's best to let the viewer figure it out for themselves as they watch it. Because first of all, I would probably be misrepresenting some of the facts of the movie because it's
Tom was the man that could see every angle.
Tom is the man who can see every angle.
And he knew if you play this person this way and this person this way, you can manipulate the situation and come out ahead.
He's a player.
Yes.
He's Machiavellian.
And there is no redeeming character in this movie. There is no good guy in this movie.
Not really.
The closest you get to a good guy is maybe Casper's wife.
Kind of, one could argue that Casper is closest you get to a good guy in a sense because Casper is the one who's fighting for this code of ethics. Casper is the one who's pissed that Bernie Birnbaum is skimming off of his fixes. And if you can't trust a fix, what can you trust? He's the one who's demanding that, order be restored in a sense.
Well, yeah, but Tom was fighting for the same thing. Tom also was never, he was against killing anybody. He didn't want to have anything to do with that. I'd say ethically.
You could order men to their deaths, though.
Well, yeah.
And he could
But
order
I think
Bernie rubbed out. He said we should.
As far as Casper's concerned, Tom had the ethics that he was constantly talking about, not double-crossing people. The order, he knew Tom, that was his thing. But neither one of them, you could say, is a good guy in the story. I mean, Casper could be a good guy. Well, Casper also slapped his kid. Just
Casper's
because his
also a
kid was
psychopath.
excited about winning something.
And you could say that Tom Regan doesn't double-cross people, but Tom Regan is also sleeping with his best friend's girlfriend.
Yeah, well, was his best friend or I don't know how I would describe that relationship because
I think the best I've heard I've heard at least one critic describe Tom Regan as hating Leo.
I know at one point it was something like, I don't necessarily have to like him, or what was it? But basically it's he's not going to, he's going to help him. He's going to.
Yeah. He says something like along the lines of, I may not work for him, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to help him still.
Yeah. It's like basically he might not want anything to do with me, but that doesn't mean I can't still care about him.
Something like that.
And there are a lot of intricate relationships like this throughout the movie where
there are two love triangles.
Yeah. Well, and then it's possible that there's a third.
Possible.
Well,
if Bernie is to be believed.
Well, no, I'm talking about Tom, Verna, and Leo. Could be Tom, Verna, and Leo in two different ways. There's a theory.
Is this going back to the cross-dressing?
Well, I guess if you wanted to take it that way, you could. I was thinking of it more how Tom was trying to split up Leo and Verna, and how Tom was like, well, he doesn't necessarily have to care about me, but that doesn't mean I don't care about him.
Right.
And when Tom cuts ties, it's when Leo is set with Verna. So it could be, was he sleeping with Verna to split them up so he could have Leo? And I'm guessing by that, look, you're like, well, okay, yeah.
You think
this
Tom's
man's
gay
off
for
his
Leo?
rocker.
No, I don't think that's, no, I think what he wanted to do was everything Tom did was good for the business that they were in. So he saw Verna manipulating Leo and getting her way with Bernie's protection. Therefore, he wanted her out of Leo's life because she was leading him astray. She was influencing his decisions and making him make bad moves.
Yeah.
That was the main thing.
That could go two different ways as far as just the possible, not that I'm saying that's what it is. I'm just saying as far as possible theories and love triangles and everything, there is, he was wanting to be with Verna, or it was he was trying to split them up so he could be with Leo. Because the way this
in a
movie,
homosexual way.
well, the way this movie is done, it's obvious that there are gay characters, and it's obvious that nobody cares. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's
Mink
not
is
like
the
it's an
Dane's
issue.
boy.
And you could still be a tough guy and be gay. It's not, well, yeah, they're all I mean, it's not as stereotyped as a lot of other places.
The toughest guy in the movie is a gay guy.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's not like that being a possibility or that being a theory would be out of the realm of possibility in the movie, because it's not like that kind of a character wouldn't fit in this movie.
Well, I think that if Tom were gay, he would have to be bisexual because he's clearly
that's
performing
possible, too.
with Verna.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's not like it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I think you're
It's
kind of
more
grasping
of a
straw.
stretch as far as everything else, but it's
Yes,
still
it
a
is.
plausible theory. And I was
Plausible,
just I was
my
just posing it
foot.
as a plausible theory.
It's a vaguely plausible theory. There's
Is there any chance at all that it could have been what was going on? Any chance?
I don't
at
think
all?
so. Based on Tom's reactions.
Well, then how would it be
later in the
plausible if you
movie?
didn't-
I don't
if you
think it's plausible.
It's not possible.
I don't think it's what.
You said it. Yes, it's a plausible theory, but if you don't think there's
said
any chance, then it
vaguely.
wouldn't be plausible.
I don't think there is much vague chance. Are you just trying to trap me into being a hypocrite or something?
No, I'm just saying if it at all is plausible,
Which I don't really think it is.
then okay, I think it is. And again, I've said
present evidence.
this is when we talk about the movie and tell, well, this is what I think, and you say, well, this is what you think, and we argue about who's right.
Present evidence, sir. I can't present evidence
of
without
what?
Of your argument.
I did.
Okay. Well, you've supposed evidence. I would.
Well,
I would
that's the
argue,
only evidence we have is what we see and what is said. We see that they don't care if you're gay or not. You could be a tough guy and gay. It doesn't matter. We see that he is always looking out for Leo and is concerned about him. He makes sure, or at least tries to make sure, there's cops at his place when he thinks he's in danger. He's always looking out for him. When, like I said, when he cuts ties is when Leo says, this is what's going on. I mean, everything is for Leo. Everything he does is for Leo, not necessarily business. Because it's like, he doesn't say, well, yeah, Leo might not like me, but as long as he's in charge of the business, that's where I'm looking out for. It's he might be done with me, but that doesn't mean I'm done with him. That's his "I wish I could quit you" line.
maybe, but I didn't get any sexual tension.
Well, no, you
about
said present
defending Gabriel
evidence.
Byrne.
There's the evidence of that being a plausible theory.
Yes, but there was
That's
no
all I'm
sexual
saying.
tension. Zero sexual tension.
Man.
This is I didn't find there to be any kind of. I think Leo was firmly heterosexual. I don't know.
Possibly. I don't know.
Maybe Tom wasn't.
All
In
I'm
fact,
saying is it's possible, and
crap,
it
now I'm
doesn't
rethinking
matter.
Tom. No, it doesn't matter. But now I'm rethinking Tom.
And that's the point of this. The whole point of this whole podcast is people talking about, okay, I'm talking about a movie to you. You're talking about it to me. What I'm saying is you're making me think, I'm making you think, and just how we can get to know each other and change other people's lives through movies. How movies can impact people.
Sadly, a lot of my opinions about Miller's Crossing can't be substantiated without spoiling it, and I don't want to spoil it. So
It is a tough one, because I
It
think I
is.
already have a couple times with some things I've said.
one of the things about the movie that I thought was really great was kind of Tom and Verna's weird relationship they have, where it seems like they hate each other until they're screwing. It's like
Well, yeah, because I mean they're fighting quite a bit, and he says, "I love you," grabs her and kisses her. She gets pissed, pushes him away, and it's like, "Oh, I bet you think you raised hell." And it's, well, if I raised hell, then you would know it.
no, it's a kind of relationship that you don't see in movies very often, where a guy and a girl are in love, but also they don't particularly like one another. And one of the things I would have liked in the movie is maybe some sort of culmination of their relationship, where finally, like a kind of Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall scene, where maybe the gun mall finally asks, like, "Johnny, do you love me or not?" or something like that. I think that would have been an interesting little thing to
You
tie
mean
up
like
her
when
character.
Leo is begging Tom to come back and says everything can be as it was?
Now you're spoiling.
I think this movie can be spoiled. I honestly think we can go through this movie and not have to worry about spoiling anything, because just the way this movie's done, really the only thing to leave out would be Casper, Bernie, the Dane.
Casper, Bernie, and the Dane.
Yeah, we could talk about all the rest except for how.
What about Mink?
Well, we can talk about Mink.
What you got to say about Mink then, eh?
But I'm just saying, if we just leave out their end, like how that wraps up, we should be able to cover anything else.
Yeah,
hell,
but,
I've already said when Tom cuts
all right,
ties.
fine. Well, then you got me thinking now, like one of the things that Tom seems to have an issue with is probably he hates himself. He sets himself apart as this intellectual who's smarter than everyone else in the room all the time. But with that comes a kind of coldness and an isolation that he clearly tries to self-medicate with booze and gambling. And at the end of the movie, he's basically isolated himself from Leo and Verna, the people who he's closest to, and he is left alone at Miller's Crossing, and he's just sort of staring up at the trees, and you hear that beautiful music coming through the leaves and everything else. Maybe he bisexual? Was he attracted to both of them, and he felt he didn't deserve love on any level because he didn't have a heart anymore?
Or was it that he knew both of those people were toxic for him and he had to get away?
Maybe it was, but another theory I have about Tom is based on the timing and Gabriel Byrne's age when they shot this movie. Well, let me just do the math a little bit for you. Gabriel Byrne was born in 1950. Miller's Crossing came out in 1990. It was shot in 89, so Gabriel Byrne was 38 or 39 when the movie was made.
I kind of sworn he was 37.
He was 39, he was the same age as John Polito, so
Yeah,
they
I
were
thought
both
Polito
39.
was 37.
All right, so he was
I don't
playing
know.
Tom Reagan, 39
Late
years old.
30s.
That means he was probably born in the 1800s or something. If the movie goes on in the 30s or the 20s, he was born in the 1800s or earlier. And he was Irish with an accent, so he might have immigrated from Ireland to the Americas. And I would wonder if maybe a man like him wouldn't have been a very valuable guy to have in, say, something like a civil war that was brewing over in the Emerald Isle. I wonder if maybe he was maybe a member of maybe he was a former IRA kind of
So are
guy.
you going through and just doing random backstories?
No, I'm wondering about what did the dude do before he was the dude?
What do you mean?
What did he say? What was his background?
Well, he actually had a background to an extent. I mean,
Yes.
he spent most of the time in college occupying various administration buildings, smoking a lot of Thai stick. There was the Seattle 7. There was a Port Huron statement. There was the roadie for Metallica.
When dude helped author the Port Huron statement, he authored the
original.
original
Yeah.
Port Huron statement, not the compromise second draft.
Yes. What does
Which
it have
he
to
was-
do with Miller's Crossing?
The Coen brothers like characters who have backgrounds.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that his background is that. They'll give them the background that they need for the story.
Did the dude need to be a provocateur, like back in the back rooms hippie?
It
like
gave you
student
more of an
movement
idea
guy?
of his character, I think.
And Tom is completely unreadable in this movie. Critics have
And
said
I
so.
think that is the point. That is why there's no backstory given for him, to keep him as just that unreadable, just like Casper says, the man who follows and whispers in the ear. He is that just unreadable. He gives advice and stays in the shadow type.
He's Machiavellian.
Yes.
Is one of the terms I like to use. But no, I feel like Tom also has a haunted quality to his character in a sense. Like he's something made him as cold as he is. Like
He does have a look like something has happened.
so. I mean, I don't get the feeling it was like, oh, my dad beat me up or something like that. It was probably something that he was involved in that went wrong or something. And the dates line up for it to be maybe a Bloody Sunday thing where he was there, all of his people got massacred, and he fled to the Americas. That's just my kind of guess. And because, like I said, he was a smart guy who would probably make a good kind of colonel or a man in charge of a group of soldiers. But he doesn't like to get his hands dirty.
I mean, I guess if that's what you want to assume.
Well, you're the one who's coming up with the whole Leo and Tom being gay
but
thing.
the things and again, I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying the things that are said has lent rise to that being a possible theory on another love triangle within the movie.
We already have two. Not only that,
And?
but well, all right. Well, we have
Have you never heard the rule of threes?
there's Dane, Mink, and Bernie, who are a love triangle. And then there's even some critics who have theorized that Tom, Bernie, and Verna are a love triangle based on Bernie's claims about his sister trying to seduce him.
Well, no, that wasn't trying to seduce him. That was trying to convert him. because Bernie is the gay character. She was trying to convert him.
Yeah, she tried to
She
give me
was
some
trying to do
bedroom lessons
conversion
once.
therapy by, it's like, no, I swear you got to be straight. Here, let me show you. That's what that was.
Maybe that would
According to everything I've seen. And okay, so yes, I know. Yeah, I just now watched the movie, but when I'm prepping for these, I'll watch the movie, I'll do whatever I can as far as commentaries or whatever. I'll look and try and find extra videos. I try and do some kind of research, even though I don't necessarily sound like I know what I'm talking about most of the time. I do try and find out information, and everything I have found, it was conversion therapy.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't know
Rather
where
than her
this
just start trying
her
to...
Bernie and Verna love triangle came from, but I think it was more as far as like when she says something about them running away and taking Bernie with them, his reaction was more like, why? I don't think
we're going to go to Niagara Falls.
Yeah, I think Bernie, he was entertained by him, but not somebody that he really wanted to be around. I think he found him entertaining, but not somebody he would want to spend time with.
I think he found Bernie to be like a weasel.
Yeah.
Basically.
But just the way Bernie would come in, like come into his apartment and the conversations, I think he found him entertaining, but he didn't trust him. He didn't want to be around him.
Pretty much. And that seems to be a recurring theme in the Coen brothers movie is just coming home to your apartment and finding somebody who doesn't belong, because the dude had that happen how many times?
Well, yeah, that I was thinking that one would be obvious. I'm just trying to think of other Coen brothers movies that's happened, and because my knowledge of Coen brothers movies is fairly limited, I'm trying to remember like in Oh Brother where that would have happened.
Oh, when they arrive home to the George Clooney's house, the law is waiting for him.
Well, yeah, but it's not like you're walking in and you find somebody there or somebody has been there. They get to that cabin and the law's already there outside waiting.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as like going in and finding somebody in your house. The closest thing I can think of with Oh Brother is when they get back to town and he finds out that his wife has a new man. So that, I mean, if you want to look at it, somebody's in his house that way. If you want to kind of go a loose interpretation.
Okay, back to topic. Tom is a character.
See what happens when you start on those things and get me thinking.
Yeah. Well, Tom is also a character who is obsessed with control. He thinks he can play Leo's the way Leo ought to be played. He thinks he can balance everybody against each other. And something in his past, something calamitous happened where he lost control.
Well, I mean, it could have been like he accidentally killed somebody. Like he was supposed to be doing something and ended up accidentally shooting a civilian or something, and it haunted him. And it could be something like that.
It could be anything.
It could be
but I think
like a wife or child died or something. I mean, there's any number of reasons. It doesn't necessarily have to mean he fled the country to try and stay alive.
Well, I was just trying to put a romantic angle on Tom, but apparently
that's romantic.
Yeah, sure. War hero flees country to hide as a gangster enforcer guy. Yeah, that's
that
cool
is
life.
One thing that the Coen brothers are really good at is romanticizing things that aren't generally romanticized. Like Big Lebowski, they romanticized a bowling alley.
Yeah.
Miller's Crossing romanticized, well, gangsters.
Raised in Arizona romanticized. I don't know. I like to think, like, remember at the end how they returned the baby and it was to the very.
Do we want to
cheese
spoil another Coen brothers movie?
Okay, yeah, fine.
Because we might one day talk about Raising Arizona. I was the first Coen brothers movie I had ever seen was Raising Arizona.
Yeah, same here. Only because I think Blood Simple just didn't get the wider recognition that most people would. Plus, it was like
when
NCAA.
Raising Arizona came out, I was just a little kid. I remember that.
Yeah, same here.
And we had gone to my aunt's house. And like, oh yeah, we're going to rent this movie. And it had just come out. So they got that. And I remember sitting, watching that on TV. Because that was like a big thing. Oh yeah, we're going to go there and rent a movie for some reason. Instead of just sitting there watching TV at night, we're going to rent a movie. So yeah, that was my introduction to the Coens, was Raising Arizona.
It is a weird, fun little movie.
Yeah.
Great Nicolas Cage performance.
Yes, but that's not Miller's Crossing.
No, it isn't. So, all right, fine. Would you agree with me that Tom engineers his own isolation? And maybe you could tell me your opinion. Why would he do such a thing?
I think
because they're both toxic.
Well, I think he engineers his own isolation because, again, he is somebody that knows all the angles. And if you can see all the angles and you can manipulate things like that, then you tend to isolate to make it easier to do that manipulation. And if he can keep it where he had it, it was easier. It's almost like you stay as the person looking in, because once you're in there and involved, it's hard to see all the other angles because it's getting too personal.
Maybe he was, maybe a glimpse at what Bernie was like as a person had made it so that he felt that people like himself were toxic to others. Maybe he said Bernie was a guy who could see all the angles and he played him any way he could. Maybe that's me. Maybe if I lose control of myself, that's what I'll become. And I'll just destroy these two who I care about.
Which would be
Leo and Verna.
Maybe, depending on which theory you go by. No,
Look,
it's possible. This is another one of those movies like you kept saying to me last week about it sounds like it has a deeper meaning. This is the same thing.
Yeah, like that's something else I need to bring up about Miller's Crossing is the Coen brothers are constantly asked, what does the hat symbolize? Because there's this shot at the beginning of Miller's Crossing of a hat that has fallen in the grass and the wind gently lifts it and then blows it away. And critics and film students have analyzed it every which way it can be analyzed. I believe there's even like interpretations of it based on the teachings of Carl Jung. This is basically like there's idea that Tom and Verna and all these characters in Miller's Crossing represent archetypes of some kind. And the Coen brothers have repeatedly stated it's just a hat. It's not symbolizing anything. We just thought it looked cool to put a hat on the grass and see it get blown away by the wind. That's all it symbolizes. It doesn't symbolize anything.
And that kind of is, and I can't remember which one we talked about this in, but like I specifically remember how we've talked about how, like, okay, they might have done this, but that doesn't mean that's what it means. And I don't mean like with the continuity thing, but just as far as what is said, what is done, what's on screen, they might put it for one thing, but how you interpret it is completely different.
True.
And there's so many different interpretations about the hat as far as that goes. And it's like they're saying, oh, yeah, we thought it looked cool. But that doesn't mean that to you it couldn't have a deeper meaning.
Supposedly the writer is not aware of their intentions, is something Joe Bob said.
Remember with Night of the Living Dead, the intention was not to put in as your leading man at that time in history a black man as a way to make a point. It was he came in, he was the best one for the role, so that was who became Ben. It wasn't to make a point, yet it had such a deeper meaning once it came out and people saw that. It took on a meaning that was never intended. So it's not unusual for things that the writers put in to not really be anything, and then people look at it and take some kind of symbolism from it.
Be that as it may, I think there's one thing to analyze what's there, but it's another thing to superimpose your own ideas onto the work. Like there's a saying that
that what
I
art
say to
is?
myself? No, not well. It is and it isn't. Look, if somebody shows you an ink blot, they tell you what is. They ask you what do you see in the ink blot, and you can say you see an owl, you can say you see a butterfly, you can say you see anything, but what you're really seeing is an ink blot. It's not anything.
Yeah, but it's also your mind making sense of what it's seeing.
Yes, but one could also say it's the mind pushing an illusion that has no bearing on reality.
But again, art.
Art smart.
Just because the person that did it had one thing in mind doesn't mean that it can't relate to somebody else in another way.
True enough. But I mean, what does this have to do with the hat scene? You think the hat scene is...
look at Hurt.
Hurt?
When Johnny Cash did Hurt, that song was much different than the original version.
Yeah, for one thing, Johnny Cage took out the...
Johnny Cash.
Did I say Johnny Cage?
Yes, you did. We went to Mortal Kombat there for a second. When Johnny Cash did Hurt, it had a whole
Johnny Cage,
name.
Johnny Cash, everybody knows they're the same guy. Johnny Cash could
I don't know what world you're in, but Johnny Cage and Johnny Cash, not even close.
Yeah, not even close. But okay, fair enough. Johnny Cash took out the line about "I wear this crown of shit," so that helped the song. But
yet the way it was mixed and how he sang it, his voice, everything, it became a different song.
Yes, fair enough. But again, what does this have to do with the hat? Are you saying the hat has a meaning?
I'm saying that just because when they put it in there, it didn't have a meaning for them, that doesn't mean it can't have a meaning for you. So as far as people analyzing it and trying to figure it out, you can analyze it and try and figure out, okay, maybe we can try and figure out what they were thinking.
Yeah, we'd have to psychoanalyze the Coens.
But at the same time, forget what they're thinking and put this together as a whole and tell me what you interpret it as. That's what it should be.
Okay, well, the hat represents Tom having a dream about his hat in the forest, and then one could argue that the movie has its own counter argument to what you've just stated. He's telling Verna that he had a dream about his hat in the forest, and Verna tries to say, "Let me guess, you finally caught it, and it wasn't a hat. It turned into something beautiful." And he says, "No, I never went after it. The man's foolish, dumbest thing, most foolish thing in the world is a man chasing his own hat."
And yet the movie basically starts with him chasing his hat. That's how he gets to Verna. He's chasing his hat.
Okay, now, fair enough. What we can learn about Miller's Crossing is that you can analyze a hat from any different angle forever, and you still won't know what the hat means. So we're getting down to
one of the things that has
Platonism
been
at this point.
said about the hats too is it has to do with vulnerability, because the men never really take off, or they never really are like put their hats away unless they're in a vulnerable situation, or like not unless they're in a vulnerable. They never put their hats away unless it's a time when they're going to be vulnerable, like when they're going to sleep, something like that, when you're going to be vulnerable because you're sleeping. But they put their hats away then. But the rest of the movie, their hat it's in their hand, it's on their knee, it's on their foot. Their hat is with them. Mm-hmm. But the times when they're vulnerable, like when Leo goes to Tom and is trying to convince him, come back and all that the hat he had on then, which technically, yes, it's still a hat, but he's talking to him, then he takes that off, and then the conversation becomes more of a vulnerable, like he's putting himself out there. The times when Tom is vulnerable, he's got no hat. So a lot of things, a lot of theories are out there about that, and being basically the hats are like shields.
I think at the end of the movie, I think neither Tom nor Leo were wearing hats. They were carrying their hats, and Verna was wearing a hat, wasn't he?
Yes, she was wearing a hat. She said
with a veil.
Yeah, and she's like, fuck off or whatever, and took off and got in the car and drove
dead.
off and left him.
That was her go-to quote. Her new line was "drop dead." No, I think Marcia Gay Harden turned in a great performance, and Verna is an amazing character who harkens back to the old femme fatale ladies of the yesteryear that you just don't see in movies very often. That kind of character is not part of modern cinema vocabulary, I don't think. A tough girl like that.
Yeah, she played the character great.
I mean, if it was like if they wrote that kind of character for a modern story, it would be like, oh, she's tough, but because she's a better shot than every guy, and she's sexier than, like, I'm thinking Angelina Jolie in that movie Wanted or something like that. That's the interpretation of a femme fatale for modern film goers.
You know who else was up for that role, don't you?
In Wanted?
No, for Verna.
Oh, there were a lot of actresses.
Well, Julia Roberts, Demi Moore, and Jennifer Jason Leigh were all up for that role.
Jennifer Jason Leigh would have killed it.
Yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh would have been really cool to see in that one.
But
at the same time, I don't know if I'd want to see different, because what
Marcia Gay Harden knocked it out of the park. I'm just, I just meant that as a compliment to Jennifer Jason Leigh. She would have killed it. I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah.
I defy you to find a Jennifer Jason Leigh performance that is top notch.
Okay, don't test me, because I'll find one.
I didn't mean that seriously.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, you know how I've been on this whole thing about counting?
Yeah, I think you have OCD.
Well, that's possible too. Jesus, Tom. How many fucking times did you hear somebody say Jesus, Tom?
I think they say it 5 or 6 times in the movie.
8 times.
8 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Mink says it. Frankie, the thug for Casper,
3 times
says
by
it.
Leo, and once by Frankie, once by Bernie, and once by Chief O'Doul. And Mayor, when the Chief and Mayor, they say it once.
Yeah, the Chief and Mayor who will show up in the office of whoever's in charge.
Yep.
They're just like, well, looks like Casper's running the show now. Well, let's report to him.
And as long as I'm doing some links here, there's a pretty interesting drinking game you can play. So I'll link it to Night of the Demons. There's an interesting drinking game you can play. Take a drink every time someone says Jesus, Tom, or a drink every time Tom gets punched.
You'd be drunk. Tom gets his ass kicked throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Doesn't show many bruises, but
I think
there's
at one
a
point he's
sequence
got
in the
like
there's a
face.
sequence where he's got he's a little cut up, but I mean, to be honest, movies are hesitant to put shiners on their leading men and let the character walk around with a big black eye through the rest of the movie. So that's just how movies work. Like it's the same thing in action movies where Arnold Schwarzenegger got shot, but it's okay. It was just in the arm, the shoulder, so he's fine.
Can you believe the Coens originally didn't want Byrne to use his actual accent?
Yes, until Gabriel Byrne convinced them by saying that,
actually talking.
yeah, because they didn't want the characters to be that Irish. But then when Gabriel Byrne said that he detected a little bit of Irish in the prose that he could work with, they said, okay, we'll try it. And he said, all right, well, here we go. And Gabriel Byrne's Irish accent was much more subtle than that in the film than what I just did.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was exactly he said, but they had somebody there, and as soon as he started talking, it's like, oh yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and Albert Finney went on to use Irish accent as well, even though I'm not.
And he went on to dress as a woman in the bathroom.
Yes, which, okay, based on your idea that was Leo.
It was him.
No, it was.
I'm sticking by it.
That makes no sense. Leo was upstairs fully dressed, and then Tom went down to the bathroom immediately. He would have had to change and beat Tom to the bathroom.
He's got a drag pole, just like the bat pole. And Adam West would slide down the pole and be changed. Leo's got a drag pole. He slides down and he's in the bathroom as the matron in the bathroom.
Okay, you should call this episode The Drag Pole.
Ooh, that would be a cool name. Too bad I've already named it. Friends is a state of mind.
Oh, okay.
I actually liked that line, Friends is a state of mind. I thought it was...
See, that's the thing. Casper had some nice lines, and
I thought that line was a really good description of this movie. Friends is a state of mind.
And that's the thing. It's like...
but I do like drag pole.
That'd be a good Rob Zombie song, too. Ride on my drag pole, yeah, yeah.
I do agree. Drag pole does sound like it would be a pretty cool Rob Zombie song. Rob Zombie, if you're listening, drag pole's our idea, but you can feel free to write a song. Just give us some credit.
Yeah, just,
Give us credit for the name.
Call it Drag Pole of the Strangers or something.
Or just make sure we get credit on there saying that we gave you the name. And if you want to throw us in the song somewhere, cool. But, just make sure we get credit for coming up with a name. Then you can have the rest.
That way we can get royalties a little bit.
I wasn't thinking that, but that's cool too.
Yeah, just a few royalties off that album of yours, Mr. Zombie.
Hey, we did come up with a name.
Just a little bit, I mean, we're not asking for much. Just a small percentage of the millions.
Yeah, pocket change.
Yeah, really. I mean, you spend that when you're buying leather pants. And Rob Zombie, if you're listening to this, first of all, thank you.
For everything.
All
your music.
By the way, we're going to alienate fans right now because, oh my God, these guys like Rob Zombie. Okay, done with them. Whatever. Oh, God. Oh, my God, no.
Yeah, but you know what? How many horror fans don't like Rob Zombie? I mean, to think we wouldn't like Rob Zombie and be horror fans, give us some kind of credit.
Yeah, well...
And I'm not saying you have to like Rob Zombie if you're a horror fan, but...
He's an unfortunately polarizing figure in the horror community, unfortunately.
Oh, you don't necessarily have to like his movies. We're talking about his music. Yeah. Oh, a horror movie called Drag Pole with Rob Zombie's hellbilly style, like a... That's another
meeting. If we're gonna write a movie, we're keeping it off the air. And also, Rob Zombie, if you're listening to this, please could you
let us know?
Could you?
Well, yeah.
Please renew your search for the House of Thousand Corpses footage that has been lost. Maybe it's still out there. They found the Nightbreed footage. And they put it back together. You can find the House of Thousand Corpses. It's probably right under your nose. You just don't. You just haven't looked because you haven't had time because you're so busy being awesome. It's out there somewhere.
Yeah, it would be cool to see some of the extra stuff. But you know what?
Or assemble a director's cut.
I'm gonna say what's out there already
is great.
I'm happy with it.
But we're off topic.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, it's Casper. Casper, for all of his psychopathy, actually has a lot of cute lines in the movie that seem to hint at the film having some grand purpose as far as ethical morality is being put on display. And therefore, that's part of my interpretation of Tom is he is kind of like either on a search for ethics or on a search for himself, if you will, where he just...
Like a redemption redemption.
I don't know about redemption, or maybe just I don't know. Like it might just go back to the cliche about the 20th century man, about how what are real ethics, what are real morals anymore in the world that we live in. Tom just trying to find his own way.
And it sounds to me like looking for a deeper meaning.
Yes,
it's very easy to do, isn't it? You see how I got lost last time.
I don't think it's a deeper meaning as much as just a basic meaning, because as Tom isolates himself, Tom is self-destructive. Tom probably hates himself. All these things contribute to him being like somebody who doesn't feel like he's part of this world he's in.
Possibly. Or, like I said, it could be just since he can see all that, it's easier to kind of be master of his own fate when he can be directing things.
Well, no, I think it's kind of a well-known philosophical thesis that perception and intelligence are curses.
Oh, yeah.
So Tom is a cursed man. Like, he can see things that Leo can't see. He can see the angles the way Casper can't quite see. There's a reason Casper wants to hire him.
Well, yeah. I think part of it is because, one, he knows Tom ethically is the kind of person that he's looking for. I think also part of it is because he knows, based on like Leo's reaction to Casper's request in the beginning, he saw how Tom reacted to it and knows Tom agrees with him instead of Leo. So it's like, okay, well, I know he's not just going to betray me. He's not going to double cross me.
That's another line.
Like,
Isn't that another line Casper has where he says, double cross, where does it end?
Yeah, he hates double crossers, and he constantly is talking about not double crossing people. But I think that's another thing. Like, he sees Tom isn't going behind Leo's back. He's not double crossing Leo, even though he disagrees with him. So he knows Tom would be somebody that he would be able to trust, because if he's on your side, even if he doesn't agree with you, he's on your side. He's going to have your back.
Possibly. But do we think Tom really ever had Casper's back?
I would say, but I think that gets into the parts that I think we shouldn't spoil.
All right.
I'll say that I think there's times when he could have, and there's times when it's questionable.
I think there's one could interpret a lot of what he did for Casper as being stuff that he wishes he could have done for Leo.
Yeah.
Like, the main thing being something we can't spoil.
See, this is one of those movies that everything's tied together so well because it's Coens that it's hard to take certain things out and not just completely alter the story. I mean, we were able to take Jesus out of Lebowski.
In theory. He doesn't contribute much to the plot.
Yeah, but for Miller's Crossing, who would you take out?
Miller's Crossing, Adolf. Yeah, that guy walking along with Tom on the street for 1 minute. Just a guy Tom was talking to about bets, I think.
Oh, the little guy when the two thugs come up?
Yeah, and
I don't necessarily know if I would say that would be somebody that it's like, oh yeah, you could take him out and it doesn't make a difference. I think him being a named character wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah.
But just to have it like life is going on and have this is what's happening and the thugs are coming out in broad daylight on the street with witnesses, I think having that conversation would be appropriate. You wouldn't necessarily have to know anything about the character or a name or anything. It's just somebody he's talking to about a bet.
I don't think witnesses matter in this town.
No, but I think that's a good way of showing that witnesses don't matter, is having it happen with witnesses.
Yeah, because the nuts are running the asylum in this town.
Well, that's one of the things I appreciate with the Coens is they don't necessarily say, you know what, we don't have to show you. You can just hear about it or see it in a newspaper clipping. And they do show a lot of things in newspaper clippings that do make a difference to the story, or at least can add to the story. But they want you to see it for yourself. Like Big Lebowski. You can say, oh yeah, Bunny Lebowski was in these beaver pictures. But was she? It could just be Maude just trying to talk shit. Okay, well now you have her in lingerie answering a door. That still doesn't mean anything. Well, now you have the porn star coming out naked, not being bothered with some stranger there, and putting on heels instead of everything else. Okay, now you know this is a porn movie she's in.
Indeed.
In this, it's kind of that same thing where you can say, oh yeah, they went and shot these guys out on the street at 2 p.m. or whatever. You can say these things happen, or you can show it happening as your story unfolds. And I think showing that happening has a much greater impact than just some exposition that could be lost somewhere.
Speaking of showing things, the movie is, if you're a Tommy gun enthusiast, this movie is might be like porn for you, because this thing...
endless bullets.
Endless bullets.
Although that scene with Leo is pretty badass.
Yes, it was. There's this great scene where there's an attempt on Leo's life by two Casper's thugs trying to come into his house, and Leo gets the drop on him, and boy does he there's a line later in the movie where they say, yeah, Leo came out clean, still an artist with a Thompson.
Yeah, and that was art.
Yeah.
He slowly put his slippers on. He snuffed out a cigar and put it in his pocket. And then as soon as the guys bust in, he grabs his revolver, goes under the bed, and two guys in the doorway with Tommy guns start shooting at the floor, working their way up to the bed. He shoots one in the leg to drop him, and as he's laying on the ground, shoots him again in the head. The other guy runs out the door, so he crawls out from under the bed, grabs a Tommy gun, goes over to the window, throws it out the window, slides down off the roof, grabbing the rain gutter on the way to catch himself, drops himself to the ground, picks up the Tommy gun, backs up, waits for the guy to come in front of the window, and just starts shooting the living shit out of him in the back. And while he's doing that, this guy starts shooting like mad because he's getting shot and he's just pulling the trigger. He ends up shooting himself in both feet multiple times as the house is burning to a crisp. And then another car comes by shooting at him. He doesn't try and get out of the way or hide or anything. He just turns and starts walking towards this car that's shooting at him, firing away, following it down the street.
And somebody did the math on the scene. Leo should have had to reload like 6 times.
It's just endless.
Endless bullets.
Yeah.
And then there's a shootout at an Irish social club later in the film where Sam Raimi makes his cameo. And
firing away dual pistols.
If you didn't get enough bullets before, you get them in this scene.
But what got me is the bullets are only coming from one little tiny space in this window. Why don't they all concentrate their fire there? They're not getting shot from anywhere else.
Because they're all terrible shots, apparently. No, but one of the things about this movie that I dreaded about us covering it is because I feel like we could go on for hours, like trying to come up with interpretations of like this or that or this or that or this and this, and we wind up chasing our tails. Like you've mentioned the hats thing. I mentioned this whole made-up background for Tom Regan, whatever. And really, I mean, if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of this movie without spoiling it, we're not going to be able to. I mean, when it comes down to like what I think my proof is for Tom's moral arc.
Well, then it's up to you if you want to spoil it or not.
I don't want to spoil it. No, but I think Tom gets tested throughout the movie in ways that force him to challenge his own ideas about ethics and leadership. Both fails and passes those tests at different times.
What do you think of what John Turturro told Barry Sonnenfeld?
I think that was a mean thing to say. I think John Turturro and Barry Sonnenfeld probably aren't friends.
So if you don't know, John Turturro plays a very needy, whiny, narcissistic, gay Jewish person in this movie. At the end, John Turturro went up to Barry Sonnenfeld and thanked him. And he's like, okay, yeah, cool, no problem. But for what? And it turned out that he based his character on Barry Sonnenfeld. He based his character on how Sonnenfeld was with the Coens. So it's like he kind of thanked him and at the same time was like, not sure.
Kind of sticking it to him. When Tom is walking through the woods, he looks up and it's one of the things of Miller's Crossing is you have this beautiful music that's a lamentation for Limerick or something. It's this old Irish folk tune.
It is beautiful music, but I think there's a lot of times it felt really out of place.
Well, still, that's the thing. I mean, could you have like old, beautiful Italian music for an Italian gangster movie? Like where, is there old, beautiful Italian gangster music in that?
Watch it.
I've watched Godfather. The music didn't. Okay, the music isn't really like.
It's
okay,
how it's used.
Yes.
Look, this movie I think has a lot of beautiful music, and Coens I think do a really great job with the music in their movies. This one though, I don't really agree with the music at all the times. I think it does great at ramping up the music at the tense points, but there's a lot of times when that slower music just for me really feels out of place and takes me out of it.
Well, that's another thing I had with my interpretation of Tom is maybe like longing for home or something, is that music tends to swell when Tom is looking up at the trees at Miller's Crossing, and there's something about it that is maudlin to me about the music. And
well, it also swells because what's going on at the time.
Which we can't talk about what happens at Miller's Crossing because that's
But
spoilers.
again, there's a point there when he's down on the ground and he is at his most vulnerable. And guess what happens at that same point? His hat is taken off and thrown away.
Yes, by the Dane.
Yes. So what would you change?
I would have a bit more between Tom and Verna. I would have her ask him like some hard questions, and they have like a talk where he like either dumps her or something like that. Like a Lauren Bacall, Humphrey Bogart moment where she just flat out asks like, "What is this? What do you want from me?" or something. But in reality, that probably wouldn't fit with the characters because she's too tough for that, and she knows exactly what she's got with him, and he knows exactly what he's got with her.
Okay.
What would you change?
It would have been nice to see a little bit more Bernie. I really like the way John Turturro played Bernie. And especially like that when the first time you see him and he's in Tom's apartment and just how he gets up and walks out. Just every movement, everything he does, it just brings so much interest to the character. Same with Jesus. You could take him out of The Big Lebowski, but yet the character is so great that even after 20 years, there was enough interest in such a minor character to make a whole nother movie. And that's just because the magic of Turturro. He makes you want more of this character, just like Angela Bettis made you want more May.
Well, I think John Turturro is just a very charismatic actor when it comes down to it, and he was able to imbue that into Bernie and Jesus.
Yeah.
And not just the raw charisma of Turturro, but also just the work he put into the mannerisms and the way they walk and everything else.
You know what else they wrote when they did this, right?
Barton Fink.
Yes, when they were having writer's block for this, they would write Barton Fink, which is a movie about a writer with writer's block.
Right.
And to tie everything together, where did Tom live?
The best guess anyone has is it was New York City because he
lived
told
at the Barton Arms.
Oh, the Barton Arms. I thought you meant what city was.
Yeah, he was either in New York or New Jersey because he tells her to go to the Palisades.
Right.
So he was either in New York or New Jersey. But yeah,
right.
The apartments he lived in were the Barton Arms. And then the next movie is Barton Fink.
Right.
Coens tie their shit together.
Yes, they do. But we could talk about Miller's Crossing all day, and all I'm going to find out from it is that I lament not having a film studies degree. So
I did take a film study class at one point.
Well, good for you.
It was really fun. I would like to do more, but in order to get the money to take those film studies classes, like, subscribe, comment.
Yes, let us know what you thought of the episodes.
Heart, stars,
subscribe,
moons,
comment, heart, star. Tell your friends about us. Let us know in the comments. Criticize if you would like. Tell us what you would change about the movie or what you liked about the movie.
Tell us what you think the hat means.
Yeah.
That's it. Tell us what you think the hat means.
But the train is coming to a stop. We hope it's time to say goodbye here in the movie car. We hope everyone out there in podcast land was able to get a little bit of new appreciation for the movie we talked about just now. So just be good to each other out there. We're all stuck together in this crazy train, and we're all we have in here. So bye for now, folks.
Yeah, don't go backstabbing.
Yeah, have some ethics.